Hello, good morning. Welcome for coming. My name is Jose Antonio, Vice Dean here at the Communication School for International Relations. And please let me, we are starting the new academic course, with all the activities and information that you will have this course from your different faculties. Let me just ask you, how many of you are coming from the Faculty of Informatics here? Okay, good. Welcome to our telecommunication school. How many of you are coming from the Camins school? Okay, also representation. How many of you are coming from the telecommunication school here for our local school? Good. Anyone coming from the industrial mechanical engineering in the campus south? No? Okay, no problem.
We'll be there tomorrow.
They will be tomorrow. Okay, perfect. So the idea is today we're going just to save the presentation, just in case any other students would like to check later on. So we'll put this available in the technician is helping us for the. But for the recording, what is better? To be talking with this? Para la grabación es mejor que utilicemos el micrófono o viva voz.
Para la grabación, el micrófono.
Okay. Okay. Hola. Hello. Yes. Okay, so we are going to be recording the session to be later on having available in the internet. And then please let me introduce you, in this case, to Britta and to Professor Robert Davis, both from University of Colorado. And then they are going to tell you about the opportunities that you have with this Balsells program for going to United States for your final bachelor thesis, final master thesis, PhD, many opportunities. Okay, thank you very much, please.
Thank you. So I'm gonna stay far enough away. I'll take off my mask. So welcome everybody. And the question's already been asked of what degree you're working on, but I'll ask how many are doing your master's degree? Just two, and the rest are doing first degree, bachelor's degree? Okay, wonderful. How many of you have been to the United States? Most. How many have been to Colorado? Couple, okay. Have you been to Boulder, right? No? You have, all right. How many have been to California? So several. So we'll talk mostly about Colorado because that's where we're from, but there's also a program in California that we'll make mention of as well. So, and basically we're here to talk about a short-term program of 1 term, 5-6 months, and a long-term program of coming back and doing a master's degree, PhD degree, which could be 2 years or could be even 5 years if you do a PhD degree. Let me see if I can get the advancement to work. Yeah, so this is actually talking about the long-term program, and that is what would you do after graduation? You can go to industry and get a job, and the economy's improving a little bit, I think, and so maybe there's more jobs. Or you can continue to get an advanced degree and gain more knowledge and become a leader in your field. And so we're going to tell you what some of those opportunities are. First of all, why graduate school in the United States? Obviously, opportunity to travel, learn more about yourself and about society, live abroad. But also there's quite a bit of an expansion of career options. If you do a graduate degree in a technical field in the United States, there's something called optional practical training afterwards for 2 years. And almost all the students, most of the students who've come have then done optional practical training and have worked for a company in the United States, sometimes for 2 years and then they come back home, and sometimes for 2 years and then they stay in America forever, either because they like their opportunity, they like their job, or they've met a boy or a girl and, you know, and have some motivation to stay. So, but the industry is really strong in the United States right now. Salaries are unbelievably high for engineering graduates and computer science graduates. So a little bit of background. This whole program came about because of this person here named Pete Balsells. Pete was born near Barcelona, and when he was about 18 years old, 19 years old, he moved to the United States, and he went to the University of Colorado, which is where I'm from and where Britta is from. and he got a degree in mechanical or industrial engineering. And then he met his wife named Joan, which is spelled just like Juan, but in the United States, it's a female name, Joan. And she was American, and so they stayed in America, and he started a company called Balsells Engineering, and the company makes small seals that are used in medical equipment, automobile equipment, oil drilling equipment, and so forth. Very, very successful company, over 500 people. And so he, 25 years ago started, or 25 years ago started using some of the proceeds from his company to provide fellowships for other students to come from Catalonia to the United States. And originally it was to California, at the University of California, Irvine, because that's where his company was. But then about 12 years ago, he extended it to the University of Colorado, because that's where he went to school. Okay. And those fellowships were funded jointly by his company and by the Generalitat, but that actually has ended. His company was sold about 1.5 years ago. He's still alive, but he's 93 years old. He's quite elderly. So he sold his company. And the Generalitat also, because of budget considerations, have stopped funding that program. But we still have some money because the new company that bought Pete's company provided a one-time fund in his honor. So we are still, for at least 1 or 2 more years, recruiting some students. And in addition, we started a new program that's Europe Colorado program that brings students not just from Catalonia, but from other countries to do those short-term stays and then hopefully to return for long-term stay. Okay. So just at the University of Colorado Boulder, we've had over 50 students come for the long-term stay and do master's degrees, and about half of them stayed for PhD degrees. And then we've had almost 70 students come for the short-term stays. And by far the most has come from Spain, and in fact, Catalonia by far, and UPC by far is best represented. But we've started to have some students come from other countries as well. And these pictures, this is in a mountain park in Boulder in the top left. This is some visitors from the Generalitat who came to visit some of the laboratories. Top right is making paella, and that's in my backyard. And so the students made the paella. Let's see, this is St. Jordi celebration at the University of Colorado. So the students founded a Catalan club. And then this on the left is also in my backyard, looking out to the fields behind my house. So the opportunities, like I mentioned, are short-term and long-term. The short-term program we call mobility because that's your word. And we would call it internships in America. But you would come for one semester or one term, which is 4 to 6 months long. And you would do your final project, most typically either for your first degree or for your master's degree, and explore the possibility of returning. And many students are reluctant to come to America for 2 years for a master's or 5 years for a PhD, but they'll come for 5 months for a project. And once they've come for 5 months, they want to come back. And it's very popular for the students to return. And so that's why these two programs are paired together. The long-term visits, a master's degree takes 1.5 to 2 years. And a PhD takes 4 or 5 years, including the master's degree. So if you already have a master's degree, it might only take 3.5 years to finish a PhD. So I don't know if there's a pointer. There is. So I think you know where you are now, okay? And Boulder is in the middle of the United States. Okay, so most of you who've been in the United States probably came to New York and Washington, which are on the East Coast. Or if you went to California, which is where I grew up, it's on the West Coast. And Boulder is right in the middle, and it's right up against the mountains. And Britta will tell you a little bit more about Boulder in just a minute. It's a beautiful place. So, yeah. Was that one the right one?
Read this.
Maybe. Probably for the recording.
So in the U.S., a lot of people, when they graduate high school, they go far away from their home state. But I just loved Colorado so much that I stayed in Boulder and have been at the University of Colorado Boulder for the past 7 years, finishing my master's. So the town itself has a population of about 100,000 people, and about a third of that are actually college students. So it makes for a really fun, young, outdoorsy atmosphere in the town. It's high up in elevation, and because of that, a lot of people really love to do a lot of things outdoors. So you can see here, there's skiing. The closest ski resort is about 45 minutes from Boulder. Climbing, biking, hiking, and it's about 40 kilometers from Denver, so that's 30 minutes to an hour drive from the capital city of Colorado, depending on if there's traffic or whatnot. And 300 days of sunshine per year. So we do have snow, but the next day it'll be beautiful and sunny, and people can go out and enjoy sledding or skiing or whatnot. So it's a really amazing place to live. I know I've loved living there. The university itself was founded 150 years ago. Like I said, about 36,000 students are at the university. And the breakdown between grad students and undergrads, I'll show you on the next slide. And there's a list of the different departments right here. So I know I heard some that are here in the civil department. So we have a wonderful civil, that's my major as well. Computer science, I think we heard, and electrical computer is where a lot of the telecommunications students that come from your university, the department that they go into. So about 5,500 undergraduates, 2,500 graduate students, and plenty of different faculty members that you can consider having for your advisor to advise your TFG or your master's thesis. And it's a highly ranked university. It's the top ranked university or engineering school in the entire Rocky Mountain part of the United States. So that's kind of like the southwest corner of the U.S. And highly rated among the entirety of the U.S. as well. All right, so Rob's going to talk about the mobility program now. And I guess you want this.
Yeah, actually, I have a question. So she mentioned rankings. We were just in Valencia, and they said that the Polytechnic University in Valencia was the top polytechnic university in Spain. Is that true? Depending on like what criteria or? Okay. I always thought this was a pretty good place here in Barcelona. So, yeah. All right.
Yes, everywhere you go, they'll tell you they are the best.
Okay.
They'll take advantage of some ranking or someone.
Yeah. They were using the Shanghai rankings, which I don't know a lot about. But. All right, I'll believe that. And yeah. And I'm sure that aerospace in Terrassa is the best, and telecom in Barcelona is the best. Okay. So this is the short-term program. And as mentioned, it can either be in your final undergraduate year or your final master's year. And in fact, we've even had some students come in between. They finish their undergraduate and they come to do some additional research. And it typically involves one term, which is 4 to 6 months. And our semesters are different timing than yours. Our fall is mid-August to mid-December. Spring is mid-January through mid-May. But you come to do research, not to take courses. So it actually does not matter when you come. It doesn't have to align with the term. And most students either come, maybe a third of the students who come in fall. They might come in late September, maybe stay through January, maybe go home at Christmas, but then come back. And about 2/3 of the students come in February and stay through about June. But it's really whatever meets your schedule. We're pretty flexible. And like I said, you don't take courses, you just do research. You often will get credit for your research to meet your requirements of your project here. Once in a while, a student will take a course from back home, that's remote, and that's allowable. And once in a while, a student will informally take a course at the University of Colorado, but not enroll, but maybe your home department here would give you credit. And we've worked out those arrangements before. There is some funding. So our program, our university will provide $1,100 a month. So that's a little bit less than 1,000 euros a month for living expenses. It's actually not quite enough. Boulder's an expensive town. You probably need $1,300, $1,400 per month. And so either a small grant from your university or from your parents or from your own savings to supplement what we can provide. And it's a great way to explore, like I've already mentioned, returning for graduate study. If you have a potential interest in graduate study and you're a good student, then this is a wonderful program for you, the short-term program, and then the possibility of coming back for the long-term program. Okay, there's much more information on the website, and the website is on your handout. It's the website on the magnet is old, so don't use that website, but use the website on your handout. Okay, and we have what we call a soft deadline of the beginning of March. If students apply later and there's still positions, that's okay, but we get lots of applications by the beginning of March. And so if you wanted to come in either fall 2022 or spring 2023, you should apply by March 2022, okay? And if anybody wants to come in spring 2022, which is very, very soon, it's hard but not impossible. We have 1 or 2 positions left, and you'd have to apply like in the next week because it takes 3 months to get a visa, okay? All right. Oops. And then now the long-term program. I've already mentioned it. In the United States, it's 1.5 to 2 years to get a master's degree. It's a combination of courses and a thesis. And the thesis is more involved than the thesis here. It takes more than 1 term. So students usually start working on their thesis and then work on it for about a year, partly simultaneous with courses. Okay. And so that's depicted here where you start with courses, you take fewer courses after your first year, and you also start research, but you do more research after your first year. Okay. And then when you graduate, you can go to industry, a government research lab, or academia. One difference in the United States is most students who get a PhD in computer science or engineering go to industry, not to academia. Probably 85% go to industry rather than academia. And so it's a very good stepping stone to work for a top company. And we've had many students come from UPC and then stay and work for Apple or Twitter or Chevron or one of the major companies in the United States. Okay. And the long-term program also provides financial support. And in fact, it's more financial support, and it's enough to live on. It's usually in the form of research and teaching assistantships. Research assistantships means you're paid to do research, and the research is the research that you're doing for your thesis. And so it's a win-win. It works out really well. And it's because the faculty members have grants that have funding. And a teaching assistant means you're helping with a course. So a faculty member is teaching a course, and you're helping grade and tutor students and maybe giving 1 lecture or 2 lectures, things like that. And these assistantships pay a stipend of about 2,000 euros a month. And that is enough to live on. And in fact, it's enough to live on and buy a ski pass and take a vacation to Las Vegas, as long as you don't take too much money to Las Vegas. And to go home and see your boyfriend once in a while. So the assistantship also pays your tuition, which is very important because in the United States, the tuition is high. It's not paid by the government, it's paid by the students and family, and it can be 30,000 euros for tuition, but the assistantship pays it. So that's the good news. Now, for Catalan students like yourselves, like I mentioned, there's still some Balsells funding. And so there'll be some fellowships that will provide part of your monthly stipend. And that's actually a really good deal, because if you are awarded a Balsells fellowship, then the department that's going to host you is much more likely to pay the rest of your stipend. It makes it much more easy for you to get a research assistantship or a teaching assistantship for the rest. Okay. And now the deadline, which sometimes is soft and sometimes is hard depending on the department, is the 1st of December. So if you want to start your master's or PhD at the University of Colorado in August 2022, excuse me, you would need to apply by December 2021. Okay, so you would need to start preparing now. Fortunately, the graduate record exam is no longer required. You do need to either take an English test, or we can interview you individually by Zoom or Skype and waive the English test, which is good because English tests cost some money and the Skype interview is free. Okay. So there's some websites about the graduate application, and I think that information's on your flyer as well. But very important, so this is Britta standing here, is when you apply, also inform Britta, because then she can contact the department to which you apply, like electrical engineering or civil engineering, and she can say, hey, this student is well qualified, comes from a top school, and we're able to consider them for a Balsells fellowship, and that will help your chances considerably. Okay. And I also mentioned that there's a partner school, University of California, Irvine, that still has a Balsells program. It's very similar to ours, and they have both short-term and long-term stays. And this is the information for the Balsells program there, or you can just Google it and you'll find it very, very quickly if you Google Balsells. All right. Britta's going to tell you about a couple of students from our program.
Yeah, we wanted to give y'all some faces and a little taste of the possibilities of Boulder. So this is Oscar Fuentes Munoz, and he did his undergrad at UPC Terrassa. And he actually came in spring of 2017, so quite some time ago, to do his TFG with the Balsells Mobility Program, and loved it so much that he came back for his master's, and then continued to love it so much that he's staying on for his PhD right now. So he is studying aerospace engineering, or doing his PhD in aerospace, studying astrodynamics. So that's one example. As Professor Davis mentioned, we have extended beyond just Catalonia into the rest of Europe. And so this is Aoife, who's from Ireland, and she did her undergrad in Dublin and then went to Switzerland to pursue her master's. And she came last fall of 2020, to do her master's thesis. And despite her being there in the middle of a pandemic with things closed down, she loved Boulder so much that she came back and is doing her PhD now, researching wind turbines in our energy engineering department. And then we have one more. Let's see if this will work. I'm gonna go over here. Can you hold this, please? Thank you. Hopefully that's not too
Em dic Josep Maria Fargas i benvinguts a Boulder, Colorado.
Oh, here we go. We can also do it here.
Vaig arribar a Boulder, Colorado, el passat agost del 2015, per fer el treball final de grau. Quan passejo pel campus, em sento arropat pels Flatirons, que són les muntanyes a l'oest de la ciutat. La universitat, també coneguda com CU Boulder o simplement CU, és una universitat pública fundada el 1876, que abarca 30.000 estudiants i amb una extensió de 318 hectàrees.
Els que estem a la Universitat de CU també se'ns coneix com Balsells. Durant aquests 10 mesos he estat treballant al laboratori de nanofotònica liderat pel professor Milos Popovic. Aquí he estat treballant en òptica integrada on manipulem la llum per unes petites estructures de silici. La llum ve d'un làser i la fem arribar al xip mitjançant fibres òptiques. El meu rol al laboratori ha estat el de dissenyar petits acumuladors de llum que permeten dividir la potència del xip en parts iguals i de manera molt precisa. La meva experiència està sent molt enriquidora i, a part de treballar, he tingut l'oportunitat d'explorar els Estats Units.
Porque nunca he sido Sherpa, sé que coronar la cumbre cuesta, y tu buen viaje nunca acaba cerca. Llevo de equipaje esta cabeza cerca, hoy me muevo por senderos nuevos, y aún así me traen recuerdos viejos, la mente es un espejo. Está encima de la mesa, se acerca a recordar el peca que no me interesa. Penas, pena, alegrías, alergias, sinergias de la energía, energías que no terminan. Este es el juego del fuego, es el flamígero, se exige lo mejor de nosotros que va el oxígeno. Lo traigo la película, el pistola, el auricular, y hablar con una díscola en un disco bar. Yo solo soy un terrícola, terrible bipolar, tenía pasión agrícola y no conseguí volar, pero aún así aún me tiro, si me despeño, al menos que sea poniendo empeño, si me despierto, al menos que sea de un buen sueño, si me la ven, al menos que sea enfrentando el reto como un hombre, mirando al mago a los ojos, y me lanzo al vacío, sea con los míos y con arrojo, si te sonrojo, que sea con un piropo, que si me topo contigo, te quedas con un trecho, porque de hecho, de lo que quieras que te guste.
So Joseph was from, he did undergrad at UPC North, so he's from your university.
Does anybody know Joseph, the narrator? Yeah, some of the faculty?
Yeah, he was a very brilliant student from physics here at school.
Yeah, absolutely. So pretty talented individual, both in technical work. He finished his master's in 1 degree in 1 year. I think he's the only one who did 1 year, and made a film at the same time. So we'll stay and take questions, and maybe we'll take questions from the whole audience to begin with, and then if you want to stay and come ask us individual questions, we can do that as well. So any general questions that anybody has? Does anybody want to come? Yeah. All right. Well, that's good. All right. It's really a great place. It's a wonderful place to live. It's very different than Barcelona, which is also wonderful. Boulder's a small city, not a large city, and it's very outdoor oriented. It's like going to the Pyrenees, except 10 minutes away. But it's also a very good technical university. Yeah.
How many positions are open?
So in terms of the short-term program, about 10. And in terms of the long-term program, it's really not limited because it's up to the individual departments to take students and to provide research and teaching assistantships. Balsells fellowships, we probably can fund about 6 students with them, but students can come even without a Balsells fellowship. Yes?
How do you decide who comes to the lesson? How do you decide who comes?
So we evaluate their application, which includes the transcripts, letters of evaluation, a personal statement the student wrote. What we look for is top students, who are among the better academically qualified students. We look for students who are really eager to do research and maybe return for graduate school. Yeah. And then the other thing is we need to make a match between the student and a faculty member's lab to do research. And so usually the student does some looking at the website about the possibilities, and then informs Britta, and then we help make the match with the faculty members. Okay. Anything else?
Do we need to certify our level of English, or it's not necessary?
It's so for the short-term program, it's not necessary. All that's done is you will have a Skype interview with Britta, and she's not very frightening. Okay, and we just have to know, which is always yes, that the student has good enough English to work in a laboratory. For the long-term program, you either have to take the IELTS exam or the TOEFL exam. Both of those are expensive, like 150 euros or so. Or again, if you come on the short-term program or if you do an interview with us, we can write a letter that waives the exam. So no problem. Any questions beyond the first row? Okay. The eager ones in the first row. Okay. All right. Well, then I guess they can be, well, yes, Jose.
If I were a student, I would be asking, you need some exams like the ERE that's advertised with the story, or how it's more simplified, not needed, or
Yeah. So the answer is no. Until this year, until last year, the graduate record exam was required, but the University of Colorado and many schools around the United States, because of COVID, waived the graduate record exam, and now it seems that we're not going to bring it back. So you do not need the graduate record exam. Ignacio?
If you want to make emphasis, because you said there is still a possibility of one or two who would be able to start now in spring this year?
Yeah, probably in February, possibly.
So if there is anybody who visits there, well, because the timing in Colorado has to match their own timing of their studies here, let's say. And perhaps there is people who have this opportunity for this year and not for next year.
Yeah, no, I just want to raise that as a possibility, that if there's a good student who doesn't have a position to do your project in say February to June, it's still possible, but we'd have to move pretty quick. We don't issue. The United States issues a J1 visa, and it takes 2 to 3 months to get all of that arranged, and we have to have you approved and your project identified before the paperwork is filed. So you'd have to act quick. Okay. Anything else? Okay.
Does the civil engineering master program have anything to do with building information modeling? Do they have a subject regarding that program?
With building
Information modeling, BIM.
Yeah, so in my field, BIM means boundary integral method, so that's completely different. So I think the answer is yes. I'm in chemical engineering, so I don't know the faculty quite as well, but there are several faculty who do modeling, and they do modeling of building systems and smart buildings and so forth. So my guess is yes, but you probably have to look at the website, unless Ignacio knows, because he visits often.
Yeah, well, I don't know. You have to go and be at the faculty in civil engineering, and then you have each person and click normally on file and projects and research. You will probably find somebody who does that.
You can find all masters in the website, like for civil engineering.
Okay, well, we'll end the program here, but the two of us will stay for a little bit if you want to come up and introduce yourself or ask individual questions. Okay. Thank you.